On this episode of Industry Relations, Rob is gone, so I brought on a special guest to talk about the shifting priorities of MLS organizations. Let's go. This is Industry Relations, a podcast that's at the intersection of real estate and technology from an insider's perspective, with Rob Hahn and Greg Robertson. Hola, everybody. This is Greg Robertson, the fabulous Greg Robertson, I guess. It's an interesting edition of Industry Relations. Rob, the notorious ROB, couldn't make it today, so we're pulling an audible today. And I thought, well, who do I want to have as my special guest here while Rob's not here? And I couldn't think of anybody better but I don't know if we have a nickname for you, but Katie Smithson, Chief Revenue Officer of CRMLS. Welcome to the podcast, Katie.
Thank you. Jazz hands.
I can see you're a watcher and a listener. That's great.
I've been listening. I was gonna say I've never listened to this podcast before. What do y'all talk about?
Just throw as much shade as you can to start off with. That would have been awesome. Yeah. What is this all about? What's the big deal? I've never even heard of you guys. So as many listeners might know, Katie and I used to work together at my company, WNR Studios, where she was kind of head of director of the enterprise sales there. And then when we got acquired by Lone Wolf, she spent some time there. And then it's been kind of a journey to the dark side, I guess, right, Katie? A short kind of stop at Zillow, right? And then on to CRMLS, right?
Yeah. So I don't know. Your listeners might be wondering which one of those is the dark side. So,
well, non-vendor side, yeah. Really. So, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So
well,
it has been a journey.
It has been a journey. Good. Yeah. So let's talk about, let's start off with that. I mean, in this industry, it's always what they call very incestuous, right? Where everybody, has work for different companies. One guy could work for one MLS vendor, then another software company to another, or an MLS vendor or another, or an MLS organization to another. So all of us, I think, here have mutual relationships of people we used to work with that are sometimes on the other side of negotiations where you used to be on the same side. But I guess more now that you're working with CRMLS, right? As a vendor, as somebody being on the other side, selling third-party software products, what so far has been the biggest differences there? I'm curious to know.
Well, I mean, so as you mentioned, I am Chief Revenue Officer, but part of what I have, part of why I was brought on to CRMLS is to really help, and for lack of a better word, weaponize some of the things that we are building internally.
Ooh, okay, right on.
So I think the biggest difference that, so far is that, I'm getting to kind of shape the plan of how we are gonna go to market with some of these things. There's a lot of learning involved. There's still the aspect of we are building products and software that
right.
is going to be used by agents and brokers. But there's also just listening to, it's a little bit more complicated than some of the other products that I have worked on. And this is not a dig at any way, but I think there was a beauty to what we did at WNR Studios, where everything that we built was simple, and it was kind of not an easy pitch. I mean, no, nothing about that job was easy, but it was, you had there was a construct, I guess, in a sense. You knew who your audience was, you knew what the product does, and there's a lot of moving pieces right now at CRMLS and what we're doing.
Well, I guess it's a new position too, right? And I mean, how long have you been there? It's kind of a short time, right?
Yeah, I think I'm right at like 2 months now, just over two
Yeah. So I
months.
mean, yeah, you're
Yeah. So,
you're in a
so
new
yeah, I'm
position.
still like, yeah, I'm still drinking from
Yeah.
the fire hose and like learning things.
Right.
So yeah, every,
Yeah.
every time I get one question answered, I have like, 10 more that crop up. So yeah.
Oh, for sure. Well, I mean, it is. I think it is like, and you mentioned this, but it is a different landscape now where I think there was kind of like clear lines before where, okay, I'm in an MLS
Hmm.
organization. I'm going to serve my members. I'm going to do technical support, first level technical support, do some training, right? And that could be in
Hmm.
person, it could be online, and, create content that would help my members with, with the MLS system and how to use it, and maybe some third party products, help them
Right.
understand compliance and things like that. And now, and especially for CRMLS being the largest MLS vendor out there, MLS organization out there, you guys are a full on
Yeah.
software company too, right? So you have your own
Yeah.
things, you have your own development staff, and
Hmm.
you're building stuff. So it's not that those lines are
Yeah.
clearly been erased, right? So I guess you
Yeah.
can use some of the skills you had working for a software company now that CRMLS is essentially a software company as well.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. But then I also have to understand like how the MLS actually operates and, serving our member associations and then, our customers who are the end users of the product. So yeah, I think there's just more layers to it is
Right.
if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, for us, what it was, I mean, we would obviously, the agents were the final customer, right? So, we were
Hmm.
making software as easy for them, and then, but we would be selling and supporting mostly MLS organizations. But below
Yep.
that, they have their own layers. So you're seeing the full stack of all those things now,
Yeah.
right? Well,
Yeah.
let's
Yeah.
talk about that because you guys are, to me, one of the themes we talk about on the podcast a lot is just this kind of swinging of the pendulum is what I talk to about of, you know, there was a time where, it was just you were as an MLS organization, you did this, but now it seems like, and I think this was really started to get a lot of steam here. I mean, there always have been MLSs that have kind of rolled their own, right? Have their own homegrown MLS systems like
Hmm.
Portland or Claw or, Utah real estate, those kind of things. But
Hmm.
most of them have a vendor. But now it seems like, and I think really what tipped this off was Showtime or Zillow's acquisition of Showing Time, where I just thought there was a wake up in the industry and the MLS has just started like thinking differently
Hmm.
about what they could control, right? And it seems to me
Yeah.
there's been a lot of examples up there. You're in that position now. I mean, I just feel like there's a lot of distrust now of a lot of vendors out there. Or is it? I
I,
mean,
I
can you? What's
wouldn't,
the vibe you're getting?
I wouldn't, yeah, I wouldn't say it's distrust because I mean, I want to point out like one of the things that we're doing at CRMLS is, and I know you know about this, is the venture MLS where, we are, you know, working with startups and evaluating these products. And in some cases, we have made investments. And so it's not a distrust of vendors per se. It's just kind of what you said, being able to keep some aspect of control where I think Showing Time is a great example. Obviously, that was a huge acquisition, a very popular product that was used, across the US and Canada. Um, and I think where the lines got blurry was because Zillow had become a broker. And so there are MLSs out there who have basically part of their rules is that they will not license products from a participant. So if Zillow is a participant of CRMLS, and that's one of our rules, which I don't think it is, but anyway, again, one of those things I probably need to learn. Ed might scold me after this, but yeah. So like if Zillow is a participant of the MLS and now they own Showing Time, then there's like I said, there's that rule that causes complication that the MLS technically cannot be licensing that product. Um, so I think it's not a distrust. It's just I don't know, maybe hedging bets in a sense
Right.
to kind of control our own destiny, and rather than, worry about like, is CoreLogic going to get acquired? That's maybe not the greatest example, but just trying to keep some sense of control over what we can do, because ultimately we want to make sure that we are providing the best tools and services to our membership. Um, and if our membership has a perception that we are favoring another participant because we are paying them money for this product that they're offering, that's not a good look either. Um,
Well,
and
that's, but I mean, that's traditionally how it's kind of worked, though, is that, some MLSs, they, they interview or, request information from all types of vendors, and then their board of directors or there's some decision making process says, well, okay, we've looked at all of these, and they come to a decision and saying, we think this would be right for the membership. It's not like they just chose them because they just plucked it out of something. There was a process to do that.
yeah,
And I realize I kind of just I hear that phrase. It's like a dog whistle to me. Like, we don't want to choose a winner, right? But in these kind of markets, the TAM being so small, and a lot of these products requiring network effects, I don't think it makes sense to have in most markets like 10 different showing softwares, right? Or things like that. I mean, I think there still should be, some software that's, again, after vetting, of course, right? I mean, they want to look at everything,
yeah,
but that the MLS has got to choose, right? They, at some level, they got to
right.
choose.
Well, I mean, I think to some extent you're right, but then on the flip side, agents like having choice. I mean, and this we know this from our time working together. Like, even when, let's say, an MLS licensed cloud CMA, there were still agents out there, or their brokers that would choose to use like MoxieWorks or whatever.
Right.
So it's not. I mean, yes, in a sense, maybe the MLS does like choose the winner, and I'm not saying that's not still occurring, um, but you
Well, it's
also
not
want to
as long as they're
offer.
not blocking everything else, right? I mean, that would be a whole different
No,
thing,
no,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But it seems like, so if I'm correct, like you've done Venture MLS has done a investment in Perchwell. They have
Hmm.
kind of a quasi broker. They're fashioning, I've heard, to be more of a front end of choice solution, right? That I think you guys are partnering with. You guys have partnered a lot with Bright on a few things like this RE Distribute, right? So this is kind of
Hmm.
taking control of the MLS data and maybe packaging that with other MLSs to sell to Wall Street for that.
Yep.
So it's a control there. And then recently you launched, you guys announced launching a public facing site
Yes.
called Nestfully, right?
Nestfully.
So
Nestfully. Yep.
Nestfully, and like I just keep wondering. It's like, you know, all of those things are products that are currently provided by existing vendors that you're now
Hmm.
taking over. Nestfully, to kind of me, is like, I don't say it's crossing the line, but it's now you're saying, well, we don't even like Zillow, so we're going to make our own Zillow too. And I can see it. A lot of people can raise their eyebrows or kind of just do a face palm going, really? You guys think you're going to come up with a product that's going to beat Zillow? I mean,
Yeah.
where does the line, where do you guys decide what to do and what not to do? It just seems like that's a bit ambitious, maybe the word might be.
Yeah. And hmm hmm
Oh, I don't know what's in your drink, but I'll,
um, I mean, yeah, it is ambitious. I mean, I think that's part of our mission is to seek out like new opportunities. And yes, it is Nestfully in a sense is it's I wouldn't say it's a direct competitor of Zillow. I think there's some realization that Zillow is a it's the number one real estate website out there. But what our goal is with Nestfully is to, and this is the same with Perchwell, is that we want to provide more property centric data. So, kind of going beyond what is just in the listing details and being able to say, um, well, one kind of cool tool that we have or that we're looking at is called Styldod, and they use AI to. I mean, there's lots of different features, but one of the really cool things is with Styldod, you can actually like take MLS photos and kind of design a room with furniture and rugs and whatever the case, and then long term be able to like click a button and say, okay, now I want to buy this for this house, whatever. That's kind of a really
Yeah, I've
short
seen that stuff.
overview of what that
That's very cool. Yeah.
yeah, so that's, I mean, and that's where I think we're going with CRMLS in general is being able to find the right products and services to partner with, finding those kinds of tools that are going to enhance the information that the agent can provide to their consumer. Um, because I think, and maybe we'll get to this a little bit deeper, but our belief at CRMLS is that commissions are going to go away. So how as an MLS do we continue to foster the cooperation and bring that value to the agents and brokers who are using our platform and our tools, and that's one way we see um, to bring that additional value. And again, it's not just for the agents, but it's to help them really educate the consumers as well and kind of prove their
Yeah.
value.
Do you think that all, I mean, do you think, is CRMLS's belief that even, the sell side commissions are going away? Is it all of them are going away, or the buy side, or what do you mean by that?
Well, I think, the MLS is founded on right now cooperation and compensation. And if you take compensation out of that equation, then really so you're not saying that like by working with this agent in the MLS that you're guaranteed cooperation or compensation. Sorry.
Right.
So it's not necessarily saying that like buy side or sell side, one or the other is going away. It's just in general, like the fundamental offering of an MLS cooperation and compensation that compensation piece is going to go away.
Right. So, I mean, so go away completely though, that, or is it just, it's not, those are the two cornerstones, or the two pillars, the two tent poles, and one of those tent poles is not going to be as big a tent pole as it was before.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean,
That's a good way to say it.
so then it's like, okay, what if that one of those tent poles goes away, one of the big ones, how do we look at through that lens of fostering more cooperation,
Cooperation.
on
Yep.
that? Yeah. On that. Yeah. So, I mean, that's an interesting thing. I know a lot of MLSs are thinking that way also. Right. I mean, and it's kind of a drag because, we had a lawsuit that was coming up in February, and I thought that would kind of give a little more guidance, as that went
Hmm.
through, of like where the industry is going. And then what I'm afraid of now is, absent that, there's a vacuum, and that vacuum is going to be filled by people making bets, or people maybe going too far, maybe not going far enough. We just don't know. Although,
Yeah.
yesterday, and I don't know why there's not more of a big deal, it was announced that NAR won a lawsuit against the DOJ that
Hmm.
helped, I guess, put in place the previous administration deal that they'd worked out.
Right.
And I think the new administration tried to like alter that, but the judge said no, you can't. I mean, you already made a deal, and you got to stick with that deal. So that's I
Yeah.
think, a good thing in the right direction that would actually lend itself to be, and that was more focused on the buyer side. NAR had to do stuff to like be more transparent about the buy side commission, but leaving, I think,
Right.
the sell side still alone here. So what do you guys think about that?
Well, I mean, and with all the different lawsuits that are going on, having a win,
Yeah, for
in the
sure.
column, like that's a good thing. I think it. A lot of MLSs, when this deal was being put together, a lot of MLSs were kind of trying to make these adjustments anyway because they were anticipating that these rule changes were coming. Um, so, I mean, overall, we see it as a good thing. I think it's gonna potentially open up some more opportunities for what we want to do. Um, so yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I know
Yeah.
Rob wrote today or yesterday that he didn't understand it, but like I said, we
No, I
think
don't
it's a
think
good thing.
anybody called that. I didn't. I mean, who thinks that
Yeah,
they're going to win off the administration, right? So that was kind of an odd thing. And
no,
I think somebody commented on my post about how in typical NAR fashion, they're not like running the victory lap and saying woohoo. They're kind of keeping little humble about it, right? So, well, and I don't know if that does that
well,
go to like
yeah. I
appeals
mean,
or anything like that. I have no idea.
yeah, I don't. I
Yeah.
mean, I watch Law and Order, but I don't know how this all works
Yeah, for
now.
sure. So, I mean, with the MLS, I mean, so you know that you've got a number of these relationships. I saw the Styldod stuff. That looks very cool. Um,
Hmm.
talk about Perchwell. I think I keep hearing that for a while, but I mean,
Yeah.
where it is now and where it's going, and how you guys plan to kind of implement that. I mean, what's the deal with that?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, Venture MLS did invest in Perchwell. And
And
part
what's
of our
Venture
goal,
MLS? What's Venture MLS so people know?
um, so it's CRMLS started Venture MLS as a basically an investment arm. Um, so we can essentially it's a VC capital firm. And we have a few consultants that we work with. I think we announced maybe, I don't remember if it was December or January. Jeff Turner is working with us to evaluate products and everything. Um, but yeah, basically what Venture MLS is doing is looking at real estate products, startups, um, and investing money where we see potential. So Perchwell was the first big investment. For anybody that doesn't know, Perchwell was or has been operating in the New York City market for a few years now. Um, and but they wanted to explore other areas. So again, that's part of where CRMLS has come in to kind of help uh, mentor in a sense and help with their growth. Or I guess Venture MLS is handling that, not CRMLS directly.
Mm-hmm.
So right now, Perchwell, I know that they have an agreement with Cincinnati MLS. They are supposed to be going live in February, I believe. I haven't heard any updates if that's still going as planned. But what we want to do ultimately with Perchwell is, again, kind of the same concept as Nestfully, where we can work with Perchwell to incorporate other property centric data. And where we're starting with that is we're actually working with Perchwell right now. We have a deal where we are getting all of the public record information for the entire state of California. Um, we're going, we're in the process of building an API that we can share that property record data with, or that public record data with Perchwell. So all the public record information is just blended in seamlessly with the listing data. Um, so when you're actually looking at a listing, you can see all the public record information, or if you're starting a new listing, I mean, again, it's kind of like an auto pop feature. And I mean, that's kind of the concept right now. It's not live yet, so I can't speak to exactly how it's going to look like or how it's going to
Well,
look
you got
when
to
it's
launch and
actually
see what how
implemented. But
people, yeah, how people like it or
yeah,
what they're using about it.
and I'm sure there will be iterations of how it actually is incorporated. But yeah, just being able to kind of search seamlessly, and I mean, it's a really great UI. It does remind me a lot of Cloud MLX. The first time I got in there and started like looking around and searching, I was like, okay, this is familiar.
Right.
Um, I don't think they still
So it
make it,
is, I
but
guess it's in a sense, yeah, in a sense, it's like a front end of choice type of solution, right?
I mean, it could be for CRMLS. Cincinnati is implementing it as their MLS system. I mean, they're
Oh,
currently on
is it not going to be,
Rapatoni. They will be converting. Yeah.
oh, wow. So they're not going to have it in parallel with Rapatoni. I guess for some time they were, but
Right.
their goal is just to
Yeah.
have that as the thing, same thing. Wow.
Hmm.
Yeah. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. And I believe they have signed a few other MLSs. I don't want to speak out of turn, so I'm not going to name any names, but I think there are a couple more out there. But as far as CRMLS is concerned, I mean, we want to offer it to associations as an alternative to the current platform they're using. So we'll see how that comes about. But we're going to let them launch with Cincinnati first and get that work done. And then in the meantime, we're still working on, like I said, working that API that's going to provide the public record information, and some other things that we're doing to just incorporate some additional data inside Perchwell. And I think that's another reason that at CRMLS we are building things and looking for these companies that we can partner with and are willing to be flexible with us and kind of explore new options of what we can do with with property data in a sense. So
Yeah.
yeah,
So, I mean, so you started at CRS, right? CRS?
yeah, CRS data.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, and you were, so they're attack core retrieval systems, right?
Hmm.
And then, so
Hmm.
you were a trainer over there, right?
Hmm. Well, I
And
started
then
I
you can't,
started as a trainer, but then kind of moved into basically like a MLS relationships manager. I don't even remember what my title was, but I kind
but
of
that
assisted
was
with sales and yeah.
right. What time period are we talking about there? How long ago was that?
Why are you making me age myself, Greg? I was an infant and it was like 2009.
Well, I didn't ask your age, so I mean, you can throw out dates or whatever, right? So
People can
2009.
infer.
So 2009 to now, wow, it is. You're right. 2023. That's a long time.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks.
So when did you start at WNR?
Mm, it was January of 2013.
2013. Okay, so that was 10 years, right? So that was 10 years ago.
Mhm.
So I get people reach out to me a lot, and sometimes they're referred to by another vendor, or not a vendor, but an MLS organization like CRMLS, saying, hey,
Mhm.
this is a new company. They got something cool. You should talk to Greg. He's been doing this a while, and you're starting a business,
Mhm.
and he started a business. Um, but I always think about, like, people already in the business or getting in the business. They're in a, either a sales support capacity or facing the organized real estate community. Um, you've been there, done that. I mean, you have several jobs in it. You've been very successful. You're on panels, and you're on board of the directors for Rezo and
Well, not anymore.
CMLS. Well, you have been, though, right? Of
Yes, yes.
CMLS, and I mean, you've worked at Zillow, you worked at WNR, you work at CRMLS. I mean, what kind of what would you kind of say to new people, or people coming up in the business now, right? There's new companies, new prop tech companies, some are taking on and and getting in this industry in the MLS community. I think you've done it all there. And I think you already probably get people that reach out to you already. But I mean, for those listening that want to give in, or they know somebody, what advice would you give to new people coming into this business?
Coming in, yeah. Well, I mean, first and
And I
foremost, I mean, you
appreciate
meant,
that I'm throwing this at you, and we haven't even rehearsed all this. So like this is the first time all these questions you've heard, and like
but okay,
maybe we should have
again,
rehearsed this ahead of time. But yeah,
yeah, you just should have sent me some notes, or we done a prep call or something.
well,
Um,
yeah,
so, well, okay, so I think you mentioned it at the beginning. This industry is very incestuous, and I think that's kind of, it can be a good thing. I mean, it certainly has gotten me to where I am, and I was honored that Art wanted me to bring me on to, you know, to be this new position and try to grow what we're doing at CRMLS. So I think the first thing I would say is it's all about relationships. Um, and that doesn't necessarily mean that everybody has to like you. I'm sure there've got to be people out there that don't like me. That's
oh,
fine.
plenty, plenty.
But you want to at least establish yourself as being trustworthy, and you know, easy to work with, and and I don't know, and have keep your integrity. Um, I think there's a lot to be said for those things. Also, stay humble. Like you never know what's going to happen. I mean, you know, right before, or I guess right as I gave my notice to leave Zillow, there were layoffs, and there were layoffs on my team. And I mean, the timing worked out great, but I could have been one of those people that got laid off. And, you know, it's just, you never know what's going to happen. And especially the way this industry is, how it's so cyclical. And, you know, we're looking at a down market right now. We don't know what's going to happen. I know at CRMLS, we're planning for, or I guess we're budgeting for a drop in membership. And I think that's going to be true of a lot of MLSs across the country. I think, I can't remember where I saw this stat, but there's like 60% of agents in the industry right now have never experienced a down market.
Right,
So
yeah.
that's going to be a big shock to their system, in the next couple years. So we're going to see, and I think I think y'all talked about this on the new construction podcast. Maybe it was one of them, but the quote from Warren Buffett, where it's like, once the tide goes out, you see who has their pants on,
Who's-
or whatever that quote
exactly.
is.
No, I think you got it right.
But I mean, okay, good, close enough anyway. Um, but I think that's what we're going to see too, coming up. I know I've kind of gotten off track from answering your question about advice that I would give.
No, no. I mean, I think one of the things that I think differentiates you from a lot of other, a lot of people, maybe they just don't know a path here is, but you've kind of got involved in the industry, right? You've gone for, I think, your CMLX, designation, been involved in these boards. I mean, describe to people your path for that. I mean, if they wanted to do these kind of
Yeah.
things, how did you go about it?
Yeah. I mean, it took me, I think, three times running for CMLS board before I actually got elected. But yeah, I think that's definitely been a big part of my growth in, professionally, is being involved in the industry. Going to all the conferences, and I have to thank you and Dan for always encouraging and supporting me, and especially you. I mean, you were always nudging me to kind of take the next step. And um, but yeah, I mean, it started off with CMLX, taking the CMLX course, and then from there, like I said, ran for the board, I think, three times before I finally got elected. I was on the board for 3 years. Um, During that time, an opening in our in or yeah an opening in the class that W&R Studios fit in opened up for reso, and I was like, I think I'm gonna do it. I'm what have I got to lose? And I
Right,
got
right.
elected. And and I served for, I think, I didn't get to serve my full term, but I served like a year and a half. And I mean, RISO is it's a very technical organization, so there was a lot of things that I learned there too. So that's I think the more that you can get involved, make connections, like I said, just network, talk to people, learn as much as you can, listen to these podcasts, read your book.
Yeah, give
I'm
me all
not
the
paid for
plugs you
any of
can.
this.
Yeah.
I'm not getting any compensation for this. But yeah, I mean, I guess that's a big part of it too. Is getting involved, staying involved, and keeping those relationships going.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, to me, I think what you all, I mean, it's, I can always nudge people or tell them, but I mean, unless they take that initiative and go for it, it doesn't happen. Right. So, I mean, you were always, I think you took that initiative, and a lot of other people just don't, because they're, I don't know, fear of failure. They're fear of putting themselves out there.
Hmm.
I can get that. Right. I mean, I
Yeah,
totally understand that. And
yeah,
it's like, I always thought like, people hear enough from me, we got to have somebody else out there to kind of talk and
right.
do that. And I think you're right. I mean, I've always been one of those people of like, that have followed the news a lot. I'm a kind of a news junkie or an MLS geek or whatever you want to call it. And I think,
Hmm.
besides our stuff, but, Inman and all the rest of the things out there, they're always good to keep up. I think
Yeah,
a lot of people, in this industry, it's like, I'm into it. I enjoy being around people who are into it. Right. So there's
yeah,
always,
yeah.
so I think, but if you're not
Well, I
able
think
to
that
talk, that
I think
rubs
that's
off on
another
you
big
probably.
part of it is like you kind of yeah, yeah. You got to be into it. You got to love this group of weirdos that's in this
Yes.
industry.
The traveling circus that we are. But no, I mean, you have to be, I
Yeah.
think, educated enough to have those conversations. It goes back
Hmm.
to like, it can't be all like negotiating a per member per month, conversations, right?
Right. Right.
You have
Right.
to, they have to know, and understand the issues and everything else of what's going on out there. Right. I mean, so,
Yeah.
there's a lot of people out there. I think, I'm also always partial to people that I work with have done a great job. But I do like look at like who are the new people coming in, right? Who are the ones who was Dan
Yeah.
and Greg and Katie and and Kevin's and all the other people that are going to come. When we were coming up,
Yeah.
like, we would look at all the other guys like that were doing the large deals, and we were in the back of the room and like, oh, that's going to be cool. And now we're those people. And I look back and I'm trying to see, okay, who can I help, who can I help out? Who can I lend a hand? I think, I'm kind of,
Yeah.
I guess I'm nudging you to kind of do the same thing of people that are out there. But
Yeah.
another thing is like Rob and I have got like a thing going on of like, making some predictions, right? So I want to ask you to kind of make some
Mm-hmm.
predictions here. I think, um,
Oh,
you talked about CRMLS making their own thing but at the end of the year, and I think NAR put it at like 1.4 million, 1.47 million is what they thought it was, the number of agents being in the industry. Um,
mm.
would you take the over or under of that? I think they're at 1.6 right now, right? That
Are
was
we go?
what they said in the last.
And they're saying the drop is going to be they're at 1.6 now. They're going to drop to 1.4. Is that what
1.47, I
they're?
think is what it was. Yeah.
Okay. Um,
We bet a steak dinner,
I'm
but
I'm
you
gonna
don't have to do that.
I'll take that bet. I'm gonna go with the under.
Under, okay. Oh, all right. Okay.
Hmm.
I'm in the
Yeah.
over. So you and Rob are in the same camp there. Okay. I think the other one we had was uh oh uh number of total house existing home sales. Right. I think that actual number came in for last year about almost an even 5 million. Typically it's like 5.5, but in 2021 I think it was like 6 point something. Um,
Yeah.
what would be your guess for the?
I just saw a graph on this, but I don't remember. I have to guess an actual number of
Yeah, yeah,
existing
yeah,
new home sales
yeah, yeah. Throw it
at
out
the
there.
end of 2023.
Yeah.
And what? And you said it was how many million at the end of 2022?
I thought it was something like, let me see if I got the stat here.
I know. I don't know. I don't remember where I just saw that.
I think it was about 5 million, um,
Okay.
5 million last year, right? I
Okay.
don't have the number here, but
Um,
I mean, I
can I
guess
say
the
it's
way I
going to
would look
stay
at it,
flat? And it's
okay, no, you can
is
say
that
that. So you say 5 million, about 5
yeah,
million then.
5 million.
Okay, this is
Yes.
now recorded, Katie. So now we have,
What's the plus or minus range that I get on that?
I don't know. I don't know exactly how we did the bet there. I know we did the over under on the number of agents, but on the
Yeah.
home sale, existing home sale, I'm not exactly if we chose the number, went over and under on that as well. Rob
Okay.
was like saying,
So
it could be close to 3 or 4, right, because of all the things that are going on. But I think that's a little bit crazy.
I think that's crazy too. I think there's still a desire for people to buy homes. There's still opportunity out there, and I think that despite the interest rates being what they are right now, we could see a gradual drop in home prices, which that can kind of, might balance out where, you had to spend 1.5 million and you got like a 2% loan, but if the price drops and you have, a higher percentage, like maybe it balances out. I think
Yeah, we'll
somebody
see.
did sort of math on that, but anyway, I'm
Oh,
saying flat.
there's
It's gonna stay flat.
yeah. Look at Twitter. There's like a ton of people like making guesses for
Yeah.
sure.
Oh
Yeah.
man,
Well, somebody's
I get
calling
like
like
sucked into the Twitter hole.
somebody like is. I mean, there's a lot of people that are basically calling the bottom happen like in November of real estate, which I don't really kind of believe, but hopefully it's true. And Redfin wrote an article that there are actually some markets that are doing multiple offers again if it's priced aggressively. I've been asking
Hmm.
some brokers around in different markets like how things are going on there. So I hope it's not as, I mean, everybody I think is just the narrative has been so glum. I'm hoping that
Yeah.
everybody's like overcompensating for this and that we don't end up
Yeah.
being, too much of a in too much of a down cycle here.
Well, I kind of, and maybe this is because how my mind operates. I feel like people are preparing for the worst and they're just, they're ready for the sky to fall or whatever. But I don't think it's going to get that bad. I really don't.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, obviously, I'm no economic expert. That is one thing I do miss on the vendor side is that I used to get all sorts of like the MLS emails that would give breakdown like the stats of what's going on in different markets. And that was always fun
Well,
to
you can
see,
still
but
sign up for
I don't
that,
get those
right? You can
anymore.
still go there. You can sign up for those. You can go to their sites and sign up.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's
Well, I mean,
crmls.org. You're
well,
like,
yeah,
no,
just
we're
use
not
a
sending you
Gmail
anything.
address or just use a G.
Yeah, that's right.
I think I've got I got a couple of fake email addresses out there because I don't want to be known. All right, so we'll wrap up here a bit, but like give me and Rob some feedback about any feedback you have for the podcast or anything else we're doing that we could kind of take away from. It sounds like an avid listener or watcher.
Well, I do usually listen because I like I'll typically put you on when I'm like doing other things, and so I
Yeah.
can't just like sit and watch. As much as I would love to just stare at yours and Rob's face for 45 minutes to an hour. Um, but I was gonna I like when y'all have guests on the show. You don't always do that, but I think
Okay.
that's always more. Um, it adds a little extra element to just Rob and Greg arguing.
Yeah, I mean, we get
You don't
multiple
argue
feedback
with
about that because some people say they like to have that, but other people, it's like, well, they want to listen to us argue, right? So the show's between, the points that we get to argue. So I think we have to have kind of a
Well, I'm
mix
not
there.
saying, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not saying every episode have a guest. I'm just saying, like, definitely do that. Continue to incorporate guests every once in a while.
Right.
Um,
Um,
and
okay. What
I'm
about,
happy
what
to
guests
come
would you like
back
to
and
see?
guest host
Yeah.
anytime.
What guests would you like to see or hear?
Oh, ooh, that's a good question. Man, I don't know.
It's
Uh,
tough because it's hard to find
have y'all
people that are
ever
actually
talked?
going to talk.
Yeah, I was gonna. People who like. Speaking of people who like to talk, have y'all ever had? And have you ever had Stefan Swanepoel?
No, no, I don't know if he'd like to, if he would go there with the questions we
You
have, because he's
get
always
it.
very polite.
Yeah,
He doesn't
yeah,
like to
yeah.
get
That's
into
true.
the gossipy, you know, opinionated stuff we do, right? So,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
I respect the guy, but I don't think he'd be uncomfortable with some of the conspiracy theories
With
that we throw
the
out or
line
something,
of
right?
questioning and yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I get that. Um, huh.
I mean, we've had some big name, and we've had like, we've had Spencer on
Yeah,
here.
you had Spencer. That was I really enjoyed
Yeah.
that
I've done like
podcast.
Bob Goldberg
Um,
before. Um, yeah, I like what I've been enjoying most is like, even with this last one you mentioned, the last with Kevin Oakley from the New
mhm.
Homes, right? Do You Convert, I
Yeah,
think is the company he works for. Because in those situations, I mean, both of us being in kind of the resi world, right? The residential world, like the mortgage stuff
yeah,
is kind of foreign to me. And this
yeah,
new home market is foreign to me. So when last year when we were had that mortgage guy on and talking about deferments and the foreclosure market and how that works, it's like I learned a ton about the mortgage
yeah,
market, and that's the best way I learned, just having conversations like this. And the same thing with Kevin. It's like I kind of knew that how it factored in, but boy, after that hour talking
right.
with Kev, especially when somebody knows their shit really well, that's always
Yeah,
a really a big plus too. So I would probably more lean to like coming towards another topic I'm not 1,000%, you know, or 100% or 10%, understanding, and have somebody who's really
yeah,
good at it, just to be able to ask
yeah,
questions and kind of, find that stuff out. We'll see.
yeah. Yeah, because I mean that the new construction thing, I mean, like I actually have been through the process of buying two new construction homes. Both times it sucked. But but no, I mean, I still learned a lot. So I think that was good. The other thing I was going to say is I really liked your, like, I think it was one of the ones towards the end of 2022 where you and Rob actually didn't talk about anything real estate. And again,
Oh
like, I
yeah, the
know
movies.
the
Yeah,
whole purpose of, yeah, yeah. But like, just to kind of switch it up every once in a while and
yeah,
maybe have conspiracy theories on different things, like, you
yeah.
know.
Well, Rob, I'm sure has got. I mean, the way the
Classified documents or something.
exactly. No, I'm sure Rob's on some. What does he call it? Well, I'm on dark Twitter, and on dark Twitter, I'm like, dark Twitter. Who's ever heard of dark Twitter? I mean, that's the most.
What is yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
he's on.
isn't
He's
regular
on.
Twitter now dark Twitter?
I mean, I'm a little bit on black Twitter, but I don't know about dark Twitter. I mean, so it's just
Oh my
it's yeah, the
God.
stuff he comes up with is like I don't know what he's reading, but it's got to be his
Yeah.
his browser history must be really kind of crazy. All right, anyway, Katie, it's been great to see you. Thank you for coming on in such short
You guys
notice.
too.
Rob's just busy and he couldn't make it work, but it was great to have you here and appreciate you.
Let's,
I miss you. I wish we were working together every day again, but
I
you've got
know.
your hands full at CRMLS. It sounds like
I do.
Art has
Yeah.
got he wants to rule the world, or he wants to be everything. So I don't think you're gonna have a shortage
Yeah.
of being bored over there. So I think you found a good place.
No, he definitely promised that there was not going to be any shortage of things to keep me busy, and so far he has not lied. So, but I really appreciate you having me on. Normally this time of year we'd be in New York City,
Yeah.
probably about this time, like heading to a show or something.
Yeah, right. That's true. We'd get some a bunch of people together and go have a good time. Yeah, we both missed Inman this year. What a travesty.
I know, I know.
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't
Yeah.
asked to moderate or anything, so Inman, if you're listening, I'm available.
Yeah, let's get her on stage, everybody. Well, thanks again, Katie. I appreciate the time spent, and good
Thank you,
luck out there.
Brad. Thank you.